Okay, just give me a sec. All right. All right, we're good. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. It seems like this is the common saying at this phase, right? Wherever you are, anyway. Hello. My name is Leibing. I'm joined by my colleague Leilani. We've both got very similar names at the start. Uh, Hi, we're going to give you a talk today on how you can use Covalent API to build your DApp or NFT project. It's going to be quite exciting. Hope you're having fun hacking away today. So I'll briefly touch on the Web3 trends lately before going into how we solve the problems that you might face as an analyst or as a developer in this space using Covalent API, how to access the NFT data using the API, as well as Leilani will be going through some resources that you can use, as well as the taking you through some of the bounties that we put up for this hackathon and the project demos. Okay, if you're in this hackathon, you would already know, right, that crypto and NFT are the big thing within the last 1 or 2 years. Not just 1 or 2 years, but for a while, but it basically exploded in the last 1 or 2 years, right? We saw like fintech and crypto merging. We saw big NFT drops by global brands like NBA and Adidas. And we saw governments really taking the step to understand it further, even though they hold quite a skeptical view towards it. Most governments, of course, there are those that fully went on with adopting it as their main currency, right? So, but within the general trend of its technological development, we're still pretty much in the early stages. Whereas some has argued that we've moved away from the early adopters to the early mainstream stage. I believe that's the phrase that they're using right now. And if you see the adoption of technology in the US chart, it paints quite a good picture as to how long it takes for some of these key things that we've already taken for granted nowadays to become mainstream and to become normalized, right? Last year, of course, was a huge year for NFTs. After the $69 million sales by Beeple, it basically jolted everyone into waking up to this thing, right? And we saw the average Bored Ape selling for 200,000 USD. We saw the explosion of pudgy penguins, and last year alone, the NFT market became a $40 billion market, right? And to give a bit of context, the global art market, something that has existed for centuries, like a global institution, was $50 billion in market size. So within just 1 or 2 years, we see this, a couple of JPEGs, don't know whether you can call them that, to basically rivaling the global art market. And we believe at Covalent, right, that the future is a multi-chain one. There's going to be billions of data points on blockchains, and it's going to be dozens of blockchains, and there will be thousands of applications like how we're using now, but on-chain, and there'll be billions of users on-chain. There's some problems with that future though, because one thing, as you would know when you're working in this space, is data interoperability. Sometimes it's hard for ecosystems to talk to each other. That's why they're building bridges and stuff, right? But bridge technology is still maturing. And blockchains produce lots of data. The problem is a lot of them are disorganized, hard to navigate, and hard to understand. So what is the Covalent API? What do we help you solve? We are basically an API endpoint service. And if you're familiar with that, that just means that we give you a endpoint, a URL, and then you can just use the endpoint to access all the blockchain data, right? We are one unified API, meaning that you can use one endpoint to access up to around 26, 27 blockchains that we are currently indexing. That means all you need to do is to change one digit within the endpoint to switch from, let's say, Ethereum to Clayton or Solana, and you'll be able to get the same kind of data. Of course, we have lots of different kinds of endpoints for different kinds of needs. And today, I think our focus will be talking about the NFT endpoints and the kinds of like NFT data that you'll be able to get. And of course, you can just key in the endpoint to that browser to pull all the data that you need, or if you code, you can put it in your Python script or your JavaScript code, and everything will come out nicely. So where do we come in this crypto stack? Of course, blockchains themselves host and produce the data. They're the distributed ledgers. We are the data layer that packages up this data, makes it easier for you as a dev or analyst to not need to host a node whenever you just want to like get some data. And lots of times when developers are building apps, they need multi-chain data, right? They don't want to just host one node for one blockchain. It's just going to be tough, right? And so they use us, our endpoints, to power their applications. Some of our clients have built wallets, NFT galleries, dashboards, etc. Anything that requires blockchain data, on-chain data. And our users mainly comprise of, as I mentioned earlier, analysts and developers. And our endpoints are currently being used by some of the big names in this space. I'll be handing it over now to Leilani, who will be going through our NFT endpoints in particular, as well as taking you through some of the bounties and the demos. Leilani, please.
Do you want to toss it over to me so I can screen share mine?
Yes. Hold on. There you go.
Okay, cool. You should be able to see that. Yeah, so within the past year, kind of as Leibing mentioned, with the rise of NFTs and popularity there, we've been adding a lot more NFT endpoints just because we're seeing some really cool use cases come out of that, and actually hackathons such as this one that are particularly focused on the NFT space. So we actually released 2 new endpoints to that list yesterday, and those are some of the ones that I'm going to showcase later, but I'll give you an overview of what's kind of currently available. So as we kind of touched on, the problem with blockchain data in general is this like lack of standardization, and it's a bit messy and it's kind of hard to obtain. That's made a lot worse even when it comes to the NFT space, because it's a bunch of individual contracts and there aren't really common standards. So it's hard to just obtain collection data. And also a lot of NFT marketplaces, although the major dominant one is OpenSea, some have their own APIs, but you don't get anything across markets. So there isn't really a way to aggregate that data. And that's what our latest release was kind of aiming to solve. So some of those data points that people are interested in include like comparing historical price and volume, or understanding the market cap across like more than one market. So yeah, we're really excited about what's coming up next and continuing to add markets to these. And I'll show you like a walkthrough of our docs and some of the use cases in a little bit. So this is the current kind of state of the NFT endpoints in our docs. So this is, if you went to our API reference page, you'd be able to try all these in the browser. So the first one is actually our balances endpoint. But this fetches ERC-721s as well. So for any address, you could pull all of your token balances, but you can also pull your NFTs that way as well. And then the second one and the third one and the fourth one, that top chunk are basically things that have been around since sort of like the NFT boom in the summer. So this is where we saw a lot of cool galleries come out and people building like 3D walkthroughs of your wallet so you can display your NFTs. So this kind of returns like all of the metadata that you need, and it gives you the collection, the token ID, displays the image or the GIF or whatever it is. And yeah, we saw really a lot of interesting things that you could do with this, but there was still kind of that gap in like aggregating the data. And that's been something that we've been working on for quite a few months now. And really, really excited to be releasing the NFT market global view and then the NFT historical data per collection. So basically, we have an NFT endpoint now that gives you like a snapshot of the entire blockchain that you're searching, all of the marketplaces that we support on that. And then it aggregates like market cap data and floor prices, and it ranks all of these different collections by name and by their market cap. So this is super cool, and we'll be showing like a replit template that we made that you can also fork and use later on. And then if you want to drill down into particular collections, you can see all of that data historically, and you can actually like display a sample array of those images. So it's a really, really powerful tool and still kind of in beta too. So keep that in mind, but we're like really excited to be seeing what people can already get started with. So yeah, those are the NFT endpoints. Yeah, as I mentioned, these are the new ones. And then our bounties for the hackathon. So we are, oops, come on, there we go. So we have a $4,000 USDT prize pool. So we were requiring specific endpoints to be used in this, and I think we just opened it up so it's broad, but these are probably the ones that are the most relevant, but definitely just take a look through the hackathon resources, which I'll go through next, to see which things might interest you to build, because there's a lot of ways you can combine endpoints, and you're not really limited here. But yeah, again, those are some of the project ideas that we've commonly seen. So like NFT storefronts, or marketplaces or wallets. I think in this space particularly, like the visual element is kind of cool and important and sets you apart. So a lot of people like to use their creativity with these builds, because you can build like a whole bunch of wallets, but you can make them all look different and you can set your own unique spin on it. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. Here we go. And then onto the resources. So I'll go through these in depth for a little bit. So there's two primary places that you need to go for all of the information on Covalent. So one is our knowledge base. That's the covalenthq.com/docs. And then the other is our API reference page. So this is actually where you can try the endpoints live. And I'll just do a quick walkthrough of both of those actually. So should be able to see this now. So this is covalenthq.com/docs. This is where you would go for all of the more in-depth information that you want, or to see a little bit of a better description on all of the different supported networks. So you can start up here at the overview, and this kind of just describes in general a little bit of what we covered at the beginning of this presentation, and an overview of the whole thing. And then if you click on developer and expand that, you can check out some of the other tools that are available to you. So like Primer, it's kind of a way to add an extra layer of filtering over some of your API requests. And then you can check out the project showcases in here too for more inspiration and ideas. I think this is a really useful resource for hackathons, or just like all the time, to kind of see what people are building. And these are broken down into categories. So pretty commonly we see like tech solutions, NFT solutions, wallet solutions, and then some of the other things in here. But yeah, definitely check some of these out. There's like always a little bit more detail in these, and then usually a link to the project. So yeah. And then if you wanted to go through our supported networks, you can expand on this. So we are up to basically a 26-ish if you include all the test nets for these. So that's another thing to play around with. And then you can click on any particular network. It'll give you a little bit of an overview and chain ID. All of this is primarily available in the API reference as well. but it's useful to just check which endpoints are supported. And if you just want a little bit more information for whatever network you're planning on building on, or if you're going to build on multiple, because that's the magic of the unified API. And then, yeah, lastly, this Alchemist section, that's our community. So we do have kind of some more like tutorials and stuff that we're working on adding to this point. But if you're interested in anything community related, I just recommend joining Covalent Discord. So without further ado, let's go to the API reference page. So it looks pretty similar to the knowledge base. When you arrive, you're going to just get greeted with the same overview. And then all of our endpoints are listed here on the left column, so you can peruse them. So class A endpoints, these are broad like queries across any chain that you can make. So just a lot of transactional data. You can segment these by like contracts or by the topic, or this is where all of our NFT endpoints live, which you can see here on the side. And these bottom two are the ones that are newly released. So then below that, less relevant, I think, for this hackathon, but these are class B endpoints. So these are protocol specific. So things that are like specific to Uniswap or something. But if you want to go check these out, you can go down here. And when you click try live, you can actually do this with any of our endpoints. And you can basically get like a sample response. And this just allows you to know what the response is going to look like and what format the data is in. So when you do our latest one for NFT market global view, it's just going to batch like all of the responses like this to make it a little lighter. And then you can expand those. And basically you'll see like the collection name, the address, and then all of the market data, basically. So like the volume of the exchange and like the prices, the floor prices. So we're able to calculate that across all of the marketplaces that are currently supported, which is awesome. And you can see that if you expand the supported markets tab right here. And then if you wanted to drill down, so you could peruse these basically, it shows you all of these collections. And then if you wanted to drill down into a particular one, that's where you'd use this get historical data for NFT collection. So that's going to just give you more specific data into one of those basically. So you can fill it in here, you can just try the sample live, and it's going to give you a response like this. And then, for all of these different individual Bored Apes, basically, like their particular on-chain sales data, which is really cool because a lot of NFT data is like off-chain so far. Also, if you want, we have a global nav bar if you haven't been through our API docs before. So you can pre-configure like the chain that you want to work on and the response currency. And then you can set these developer and analyst modes. So that'll populate like throughout this entire documentation. And then right now I'm in developer mode. So this is returning all of these responses to me in JSON format, but you can also do analyst mode, and then it'll give you a tabular response like this. So this is super useful, again, for like analysts, which are the other large component of people that use us. And I'm more on that side as well. So I like to see a spreadsheet. And this is really great for like ranking and perusing market caps. So along those lines, we're developing a code template right now that you can actually use during this hackathon. So if you go to our Covalent Replit, you can see our NFT market cap demo. So this is something that we're building and kind of in beta, but like if you can open it directly in here, you can open this site. But basically, this shows you like a tabular view that's a stylized view of our global endpoint response. So in this case, the chain is Ethereum, and this is all of the collections on Ethereum ranked by market cap. So it's pretty cool and pretty powerful so far, because I haven't really been able to play around with it before we release this. And then it shows you some other stats like this. And right now we just have Ethereum and Polygon on here, but you can check like both of these things. Polygon will typically give you slightly faster responses because there's like a little bit less on there in the history of crypto. You can see all the like funny names of a lot of the NFT collections, which is always fun for me. But then you could actually click on like a particular NFT collection and it should load the symbol, the 24-hour volume. You can adjust like this time frame here to see these floor prices that we've calculated. And then it should actually give you like a preview. So these are things that you can directly like fork and build on. You just have to click fork REPL here. So yeah, we're trying to make it like really as easy as possible to get started with this stuff. And on that note, just some of the other like demos or projects that have been using the NFT APIs, like not the ones we just released because that was yesterday, but the other ones, you can see what some people are able to build. So this is Pandora Express. They're part of Pandora Finance. They use our APIs to basically like display all the metadata in this way. Same with Binance NFT Marketplace, actually, they're using Covalent. So it's a pretty useful tool if you want to create a marketplace or create a gallery, which we'll go to next. This one is like the, you've probably seen this if you've been to any of our workshops, because we always showcase this one because it's pretty cool, but it's a 3D gallery. So basically, you like drop into this little metaverse situation after inputting a wallet address that's just holding NFTs. And then you enter the door if you can make it. And then it just displays the same kind of metadata, but in a creative way. And some of these are taking longer to load, I think, depends on the chain or whatever the call is doing. But yeah, and if you had a lot, like you can walk through and you should be able to see, like it should fill up the walls basically with whatever's being held in that wallet. So we just really like this example because this is like kind of what I was mentioning before. It's a cool way to set yourself apart from the crowd, I think. And along those lines, we're also seeing some more people using like gaming tools. So like Unity for this one, they just created this sample where you can basically input like a random ID and it'll show you a 3D version from this one collection that they've inputted here, which is sweet. And then, yeah, this is actually something that our head of developer relations was just playing around with the other day, but I thought it was really cool, so I wanted to show it. But using that same, or I'm going to quit worlds because of the sound, using that same like kind of drag and drop sort of like gaming tools, you can create like little worlds like this, but we're seeing more and more use cases where people basically can like add in points to walk through your own world and showcase the visuals through like uploading that metadata. So yeah, it's a super, super powerful tool at this point, and we're just like really happy to be unveiling it and seeing what people are able to do. And I think there's a lot in the chat and only a couple minutes, so I'm going to stop sharing. We can talk about it. But yeah, thanks. Okay.
Thanks, guys, for listening, and thanks, Leilani. Shout out Harish at the end for that very nice replit. So we'll be entertaining more questions. How much time do we have left? We've got 4 minutes, right? To
feel free to post your questions in the chat, and
yeah,
if you guys want, I guess come off of mute and ask away.
I see this question by Inoko. Inoko asked, can you fetch a number of assets for sale for each collection? And don't mean sold for sale currently. Okay, I get what you mean.
Yeah, I don't believe so though, because we're only on-chain data. So, or well, you can fetch that in other ways. I don't think you can use it particularly when we're calculating like our price data in the new endpoints, because that's all based on sales that have happened. But if you want to list like a different topic hash, like if a call is made that's like a listing or like put for sale, you can go through those using topic hashes or something like that. Do NFTs need to be 3D files? Oh, that's a good question. I haven't played around with it, but I don't believe so, because it's directly connected to the API, which basically just like gives you a URL that like displays that image or GIF, and everything in those worlds is just kind of like flat, but I'm not sure how that's happened actually. That's a good question. We can add some of these into our Discord afterwards, because our other teammates are playing around with the 3D animations themselves.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Philip's yep.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Is it possible to create and run custom queries using Covalent data? Would you like to take this, Lei?
Yeah, I think I'm not exactly sure which point you're asking, because you can like create custom queries within the parameters, but then if you want to create custom endpoints, that's something that we're actually working on this year. So
I think you can use Primer for that, right?
Yeah, you can use Primer to like filter the
response. Wait, let me just get you the link for Primer and you can play around with it. Basically allows you to slice up the data a bit more and get the return that you want. Documentation, developer, Primer. Okay, there you go. Is one form of custom query, I think, that you might want to check out. But I don't think it is like completely customized. It can be completely customizable. Most of the time, what I end up doing is just taking a look at the return response and seeing if my data is kind of there. And if it's there, I'll do some cleaning up with JavaScript or whatever front end that you're using. Okay, if there's no more questions, I believe it's time, right, Luke?
Yeah. Maybe one more question if anyone's feeling adventurous. But I think if we're ready to go, we will end the session here. Thank you, both of you, for being here, and thanks to our audience for participating. The questions have been really great. It's been a great session. So super stoked to see what you all build over the weekend. And if you want, continue the conversation in Discord. Highly recommend reaching out to Leilani and Leibing, both great teammates to work with. So we will see you guys here. Thanks for joining.
Thank you
guys. Have fun.